Sexual harassment happens everywhere, every day. Your sister could have been through it. Your brother could have been through it. Your friend could have been through it. I've been through it. There are so many stories, and it's terrifying if you think about the effects it can have on someone's life. It isn't easy to find help. Just hearing, "It was your own fault. You aren't telling the truth. We can't help you." It hurts. But I'm not alone in this. You are not alone in this. Let's create safety together. I would like to discuss a topic with you which is really personal to me. So it will be kind of hard for me to speak about it. But because it is such an important matter, it just needs to be discussed. So the thing I would like to discuss with you is sexual harassment, which is defined as an unwelcome behavior of a sexual nature. But this is of course just how sexual harassment is being described in words. So how to discuss and explain such a complex matter? Let's start with that of course everyone can have a different experience with sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can take place anywhere: clubs, bars, homes, shops, work, schools, even when simply walking down the street. And I can go on. Whether it's unwillingly getting touched, catcalling, sexism, or rape. So why is this still a problem? We can look at it from many perspectives. But when looking at the psychological side, it is super hard to define where the origin cause lays, because every person is different of course. The psychological side can be seen from both the person that feels harassed or the person that is harassing someone else. When looking at the person who feels harassed, a distinguish can be made between getting harassed and feeling harassed. First of all, there is a known boundary for people. No means no. For example, being unwillingly touched or clear sexual allusions. This means that it's clear that the person is getting harassed. But there's also a gray area. This gray area is a situation where it's hard to define if the person means to harass the other person. I will give some examples. For example, someone means to give you a compliment without a sexual undertone, like "you look beautiful." Another example can be that some people are more touchy than others, meant as that they feel comfortable to touch another person's shoulder or grab their hand or hug them, with also no sexual undertone. However, some people may experience this behavior in a different way, because some people will still feel uncomfortable. The reason behind this can be of former experiences of the person, or the person can feel uncomfortable, or they don't interpret it as a compliment. Also, some people just don't like to be touched in general, or it's also based on former experiences. Besides looking at the intentions of the person who acts and the feelings of the other person, it is also depending a lot on the person themselves, in a situation like age difference, appearance, interest, and setting. For example, if there is a huge age difference, there's already an assumption made that the other person will feel harassed more quickly. Also, receiving a compliment like "you look beautiful" is more likely to be seen as a compliment on a party than while walking down the street all alone at night. So the gray area can be seen as the moment where it's unclear whether the person is being harassed or not. This is depending on the situation, feelings, and intention. Unfortunately, in other situations there is the case of sexual harassment. But why would anyone sexually harass another person? As I mentioned before, it can't be defined or blamed on just one aspect, because everyone is different and so is every situation. But there are known reasons why a person would harass another person when looking at the psychological side. There can be spoken of several aspects of the harasser. First, we have the harasser has a lust for power. There is a case of sexism. The harasser feels lonely. The The harasser wasn't taught respecting the sexual boundaries of others. The harasser makes abuse of its power. The harasser is seeking for attention. The harasser is reacting. The harasser has a not well-developed conscience. And at last, the harasser is acting in group behavior or group pressure. But of course, these are just a few examples. So far, the psychological sides. Well, now let's take a look at the cultural sides. There are many cultures in this world, and sexual harassment is being acted upon differently in every culture. So what can be the differences between cultures when looking at sexual harassment? It can be the case that it is still more taboo, there is lack of female rights, there are lack of laws, there is no sex education or lack of sex education. When looking at the taboo aspect, it's been known that for a long time it was not welcoming to speak about sexual harassment. There has been a lot of improvement in the Western world lately because of protest. A big movement that you might know of is the hashtag #MeToo, which started back in 2017, which made talking about sexual harassment less taboo, especially in the Western world. But in most cultures, it is still a big taboo, because people can be afraid to speak up or afraid to report. This can be because of shame or being afraid not be taken seriously, or getting blamed themselves for that they were asking for it. Sexual harassment happens not only to women, but also to men. But on this aspect, I would like to focus on the women. So when looking at female rights, it can be said that actually in every culture the women is not equally treated as the men. Not even here in the Netherlands. Because there is this general image of men that they are the superior gender. But making a distinguish in cultures, there are still many with not having even female rights. Going deeper into rights or laws, a lack of laws can also invite the harasser to encourage their actions. Also, when there are a lack of laws, the harasser has the advantage against the victim in regards to both societal and the justice system. And the last important aspect is that also in every culture there is a lack of sex education or there isn't even sex education. The problem already arises when the girls and boys get separated from each other, when sex education is being offered, because this will create a stigma. And sex education mostly consists of just some biological and minor birth control information. But what about teaching how to treat each other? Or what about the expectations of sex? Because things like porn or social media could create a really unrealistic view. I think sex education should be also teaching about respecting each other, teaching about consent and how to enjoy sex. But now I want to tell you something about the political side. Looking at the political system in the Netherlands, I think a safe as possible environment could be created. I always believe there's room for improvement, especially when it's about our safety. So what if we would have more police cameras? This may sound like an invasion of our privacy, but you should know that the police is only allowed to view these cameras in case of when an accident has occurred. This could mean that it will be less likely that a harasser would strike, because there will be hard evidence. And what if we would have more informative campaigns offered by our government? Or what if we would have more regulations in sexual harassment? For instance, let's take a look at street harassment. Currently, the Minister of Legal Affairs is trying to improve the law of sexual harassment. This means that the law will be extended by making street harassment, like cursing and making obscene gestures, prosecutable. And what if we always offer help and support to the victim, even though there is lack of evidence? What if we just try to make everyone feel more safe? And now I would like to show you something by taking a look at these two pictures. And I want to ask you the question, when do you think this woman is asking for it? You would think the first one. But the answer is that nobody, and I repeat, nobody, asks for getting sexually harassed. There is never, and I repeat, never a reason for sexual harassment. Thank you.